too large. Their expertise ranges from the single individual to the largest of corporations. Get your return prepared by a professional who will use their years of experience to ensure that your tax return's outcome will leave you in the best possible position. Call them today at 694-4184. Robson, Scribner, and Stewart. They're there for you today. Again, that number is 694-4184. Time is of the essence, so don't delay. 694-4184.
You're having another great day and you have good taste tuning into WOCA The Source with Ocala Talks and Tom Schmitz. Well, 1 out of 2 isn't bad.
Yeah, we know where Joe Martone thinks I am. 1 out of 2 ain't bad. He means 1 out of 2. Joining me on the show is the one good. The one good. Listen to WOCA is what he thinks. No, that I don't know what he meant, folks. I don't know what he meant. In the studio with me now, from the Ocala Police Department, is Chief of Police Mike Balkin. Chief, good morning to you.
Good morning, Tom. How you been?
I can't complain. I've once again skipped off on the police blotter for the weekend, so it's a successful weekend. I just don't understand. There was a lot going on this weekend, and I know I'm preaching to the choir when I talk to you about this. Mm-hmm. But I just don't understand with FAFO going on, and there were different things going on at WEC, and there was bike nights going on at different establishments and everything. The fact, and I know it's job security, dumb criminals and all, but the fact with all the ride services and ride shares and taxi services we have and friends that don't drink, it's amazing to me people still get DUIs on a regular basis.
It happens all the time, and it's it's something we deal with on a regular basis. Certainly the weekends, and you're right. There's I had this conversation this morning already once that there's absolutely no reason,
none,
why anybody should get a DUI in today's day and age.
And I love an adult beverage. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
And I have a couple watering holes that I frequent.
Sure.
And the way my wife and I look at it, if we can from our house to our first place we like to hang out, $17 Uber ride. Mm-hmm. Then from that place to the next place we like to hang out, $7 Uber ride.
Right.
Then from that place home is a $20 Uber ride. So we're looking at $45 with tip, $55 total.
Right.
If you can't afford $55 to make sure that you have a safe night out and don't put anybody else's life in jeopardy, stay home.
Yeah, and I think
am I wrong there?
No, you're absolutely right. I think the average cost of to get out of a DUI, that's assuming you don't kill somebody or hurt somebody,
$10,000 to $15,000.
$10,000 to $15,000. Yes, sir. That's absolutely right.
And that's assuming you don't hurt anybody or the ultimate kill somebody.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And it happens. It
happens all the time.
All the time, and it's a shame with all the, the efforts we've made to educate the public over the last several decades, the different events that we do, the drive sober campaigns, all that stuff, and it still happens. So,
and the people, and you've heard this because I know you've been an officer for a while now. You've heard this. I didn't mean to do it. I'm a good person. I didn't mean to do that. I'm a good person. I only had a few. I can't believe this has happened.
Yeah, and it's
too late then.
It really is, and the arrest is the minor part of it, right? I mean, when you hurt or kill somebody in a DUI traffic crash, and you have to put handcuffs on somebody, and you know that they're going to go spend the next 10 to 12 years in prison. You're destroying two families, right? One's dead, hurt,
right,
and one's going to prison. So.
And unless you were just a psychopath that has no feelings whatsoever, I would think that killing somebody in a DUI situation like that is probably a life sentence for the person that did it. Yeah. Because you're going to have to live with that the rest of your life, even after you get out of jail.
Sure. Absolutely. Yeah. You're going to have to come to terms with that on your own. I don't, like I said, I just don't know why this is still an issue in 2021. I really don't.
Well, what an issue for us Saturday. We had a good time and was home by 10 o'clock, safe, and
there you go.
No way that Bill Ramputi was getting any of my money.
Well, there you go. Smart guy.
It's tough for me to talk about, but we have to. I remember where I was vividly. I was sitting on the couch. NFL Today was on, getting prepared to watch the NFL games for the day. I'd already gotten my text the day before about how bad the Gators were from this guy. He was going to text me sometime during the day telling me how bad the Dolphins were, because no matter how good the teams he was a fan of, he always saw the worst in them,
Sure.
and would be able to send you texts telling you how bad they were.
I got a few of those myself.
So when my wife walked in, she goes, I think I have bad news for you. I just saw that there was a plane crash, and it looks like Chief Graham was the only person in the plane, and he's not with us anymore. And my whole year adjusted after that. And that was me. Goodness knows your whole year, your whole life had to change at that moment when you heard about it.
Yeah, and you're right. It's odd because it has been a year, and it's
A year ago today.
It's difficult to talk about, and yeah, it's been a rough year. I was at the house waiting on my brother to arrive from North Carolina. We were actually going to go on a fishing trip, and my brother walked in the door as I'm on the phone and learned about the crash. And yeah, it certainly. I can't imagine what Amy and Greg's wife Amy and the kids went through, but
you and Billy got to them as quick as you could, though.
Yeah, and I've talked about this a couple times. I was obviously trying to get to the crash site as quick as I could when they called back and said no, it's confirmed, it's Chief Graham and his plane, and it's him inside as a sole occupant. So. So I spun around, grabbed Sheriff Woods, and tried to get to Amy as quick as we could. That was our big worry at that point, was that the family was notified properly, as properly as you can do that, and that their needs were met during that time. The
outpouring from this community, and the respect he had of this community, you can still see that. Every day that you go about doing your job, I see it every day I go about doing my job. People like Ben Marciano, who, he runs a gym, but he also is very prominent in the Greg Graham Foundation.
Yes, sir.
You hear people talk. 2 weeks ago, I was at a lunch, and somebody goes, I was in zone the other day, and I almost walked on number 12, but I thought I better not. And people think, because number 12 was the Chiefs' treadmill.
Right.
And to the point where he would literally mean mug people to get off his treadmill so he could get on his treadmill.
He took his treadmill serious, and I run on it all the time. I like looking at his picture there and reading about him. But I guess I didn't realize as a deputy chief just how well respected and how much loved Greg Graham was in this community. And I knew all the special programs that he was involved in. The opioid amnesty program comes to mind, certainly. He loved anything to do with kids, helping kids, Boys and Girls Club, things like that. But there was a tremendous amount of things that he did in the background that you never heard about.
That you never knew.
Putting people up in hotels that were in need, just things that people like Greg Graham wouldn't talk about. Right?
Well, I'll tell you a good story about him. It was about 6 years ago. And I had went to a friend of mine. He called me. They were having a grand opening at their new place out in Keystone, and they asked me to come DJ for them and everything because they knew that I would do it for free probably. They were good friends of mine. So I went to Keystone, and I'm leaving Keystone that night. It's probably 2 a.m. And I see an altercation right across from the bar I was at a a convenience store, gas pump, everything. And I see a guy, and he's just beating the snot out of the girl he's with. So I pull up in the parking lot. I get out of my car and go, "Hey, pal, what are you doing?" He goes, "This is none of your business." I go, "You're striking that woman right there. It becomes my business." He goes, "You need to walk away from this before somebody gets hurt." And I go, "You need to take your hands off that woman before somebody gets hurt." So he stops hitting her, decides now I'm his point of aggression.
Sure.
Every bit of 5'6" of him, 135 pounds.
Easy.
So he comes over and he says, "You want some of this, tough guy?" And he shoves me. So I just grab him by his face, pull him down to the ground, step on his chest, and go, "You probably shouldn't mess with grown people." And I'm holding him there. So he, I said, "Now I'm going to let you up, but you're going to go away." And he goes, "I'll be back for you." And he gets his truck and he speeds off. Leaves the girl there with a purse, suitcase, and everything. I said, "Can I help you?" She said, "Well, I need, I didn't know." And so I text at 2 a.m. "Hey, here's my situation." Here's the text I got back. take her to the front desk at the PD in Ocala. We'll help her out with a shelter somewhere. That was from Greg Graham at 2 o'clock in the morning about a girl who I found in Clay County being beat up.
Sure.
And his response was, bring her back to Marion County, bring her to the PD. We'll find a safe place for her.
Yeah, that was Greg Graham, right? To his
He
core.
didn't. That wasn't even one of his constituents.
No,
wasn't even somebody he was supposed to protect.
He just wanted to help people. And he was very, very good at it. So, yeah, I think it speaks volumes. And it's been a tough year, right? Getting past that and trying to, make sure the agency healed as well as they could, and and that we were still moving the football down the field with Greg's overall vision. But I think they're doing that.
How much of the groundwork did he lay that you now are able to use to your advantage to make sure that, because we've heard during this election cycle, we heard during the mayoral race that this community's torn apart, that there's strife, and that they wanted to bring unity back to the community and everything. And I always thought, but because of the openness of the police department with community leaders and everything, when the Black Lives Matter march happened, Greg and Billy marched with the Black Lives Matter and made comments at the event. You talked to, as now chief of police, you have an open door policy with all the community leaders throughout this community, no matter what their ethnicity, their gender, anything. You're an open door. You are transparency through and through. I see a lot of times people want to tell us our community is a lot more polarized than it actually is.
Yeah, I mean that's been the problem the last couple of years, right? When we allow politics to get in the way of common sense, and for elected officials or candidates to use law enforcement or public safety in general as political fodder to either get elected or get their opponent unseated. But in reality, and I tell people this all the time, in reality, Ocala is a wonderful place to be a police officer. The support that we garner from the folks here is tremendous. It's nary a day that a cop in uniform here can go into a restaurant and pay for his own meal, pay for her own breakfast. I mean, it's rare that happens. Usually the check's picked up before they can even ask the waitress for the bill.
Without anybody, by the way, without my wife and I have done that 2 or 3 different times. And the waiter server goes, "Would you like me to?" No, don't.
Yeah,
no. Just tell them the bill's paid for.
Yeah, that's usually what happens. But to answer to your point, that was all. Greg did lay the groundwork. He was able to, I think, maybe I don't know if he set the industry standard, but that is the industry standard to be. We're a municipal law enforcement service agency that should be completely transparent and open to the people that we serve. We serve our citizens. They don't serve us, and it's not us against them. I tell people this all the time. I get to be a citizen first.
Yes.
Right? I live in the county. I happen to live outside the city limits, and I should demand of my sheriff the highest level of law enforcement services that
100% you should.
get. And I demand that, and I expect people to demand that of me in the city, and we try to give them that.
A lot of times, though, people forget policing isn't about drawing a weapon, isn't about arresting somebody, isn't about taking a criminal to jail. Your officers, and the county does a great job of this too, but your officers, when they stop and play catch with a football with 3 or 4 kids that happen to be out in the street enjoying the weather, or they shoot a little hoops and basketball. I even saw one of your officers got a few dance moves and, had a time with some kids that, with TikTok the way it is and all kids are filming. But that lays groundwork for good communication throughout that child's lifetime, because they don't see somebody with a gun drawn arresting people. They see maybe the uniform, but hey, that uniform's got a pretty good tight spiral they could teach us to throw.
There you go. This job's all about relationship building, right? So when those cops are out there doing that, that's what they're doing. And if we can catch those kids at a really, really young age and get them to understand that we're people, we're part of this community, and we're here to protect and serve. We're not here to arrest anybody. That's really a last resort, right? We're certainly not here to go out and harm anybody. That is the absolute last resort. Our job is to come in and protect and serve and make sure this is a safe place to live, work, and play. And I think we do a really, really good job of that day in and day out.
People have recently said during the election cycle, again, things get ugly during election cycles. I understand that. But the plight of the homeless was brought up, and all we do is arrest them, and that's just not accurate. No. I know that there's numerous videos, or numerous times people have caught on camera with photos and everything, that the county sheriffs and your officers that see a homeless person on the side of the road, hey, do you need a pair of shoes? Mm-hmm. Hey, can I get you a blanket? There was one officer, she made national news because she went to a food truck, bought lunch for her and a homeless person, then asked the homeless person, do you mind if I enjoy my lunch with you? And sat right there on the street curb and ate the lunch with the homeless person, getting to know that person, because whether you like it or not, they are in our community. They are people who live here. We try to get them better opportunities, but sometimes I think you guys get a bad rap too, because I don't think that your officers don't go out of their way to publicize what they do with the homeless. And so sometimes it only looks like you're arresting the homeless, but those homeless that get arrested, they've earned the charge they've gotten.
Yeah, there's we've got a significant homeless population here in Ocala, as does a lot of
Gainesville,
cities
Lake City.
Sure,
yeah.
Sure. But yeah, those kinds of interactions between the police and those folks that you're talking about, they happen daily at, I would argue, every agency in the country. Right?
Every agency in the country.
You don't see it. That's normal for our cops. They don't think they're doing anything special. They're just out there trying to help somebody and maybe comfort somebody on what might be the worst day of their lives. Right. People have to remember that we don't get to make the laws. We get to enforce the laws. And
that's up to Tallahassee. That's up to downtown Tallahassee.
City Council,
those guys.
Tallahassee, absolutely. And people, they ask me my opinion on all types of laws. Marijuana's come up quite a bit last couple of years, and I tell them I don't care what the law is. It's not my. I mean, I have my personal opinions about all that.
But your job is not to care. Your job is to enforce.
My job is to enforce and enforce it equally amongst everybody. I don't care if you're the governor or the homeless guy on the street corner. If you break the law, I'm gonna do my job, and my cops are gonna do our job with empathy and with great care to make sure that we're again serving first, right?
Well, I will tell you. I won't tell you who it was, just in case this wasn't the way it should have went. But I won't tell you who it was. But I will tell you that I am licensed with a medical marijuana card for chronic pain, so I don't have to take opioids, because we know where that leads you. Mm-hmm. So a couple weekends ago, I was out and about, went in an Uber, nothing, had my vape pen. Mm-hmm. I was approached by an officer in uniform and said, is that vape pen, does it contain marijuana? I said, it certainly does. The officer says, do you have your credentials with you? I said, I certainly do. They looked at my credentials. They said, you have a wonderful afternoon, and sent me on my way.
That's exactly how that should have unfolded. Yeah,
I did exactly what the officer asked me a direct question. I responded, yes, it is. In the affirmative, here's my credentials, and we're let sent on my way.
Sure.
Which is exactly what you're supposed to do, because that's enforcing the law.
Right. He's doing his job.
Doesn't matter what he thinks about marijuana.
Exactly. Right.
He or she enforced the law by asking, got an affirmative, checked their credentials. Thank you, sir. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
That's it. Yeah.
If I didn't have my credentials and I was doing it,
might be a problem.
now it's a problem. But I understand that.
Sure.
I understand that.
Right.
But that's what you mean by you don't really, your opinion doesn't matter when it comes to the law.
It shouldn't matter. If you're doing your job correctly, your opinion doesn't count.
No. You were sworn to uphold the Constitution of the state of Florida and the United States of America.
That's exactly
And the
right.
Charter of the city of Ocala.
That's it. Real simple.
That's simple.
It's
really simple.
Yes, sir.
Hey, let's talk about the holidays, because they're coming up. Mm-hmm. I know that y'all do a great job with the community, helping to help those who may be a little less fortunate.
Yeah, I think we, and that's something Greg started as well. The Secret Santa and the Shop with a Cop and all those programs. I think they go a long way again in that community outreach to first and foremost help those that are not as fortunate as we are, and we never have a lack of volunteer police officers to go out there and take part in those programs. And so when you pair those with Light Up Ocala and the Christmas Parade and the Polar Patrol and all the other stuff that we've got going on, we've got a robust, well-rounded program set up to make sure everybody can have a little taste of the holidays. And one other thing on that note, each year. The officers get a little turkey check, they call them, and it's a little $20 check you can go buy a Thanksgiving turkey with. And we had this idea last year that hey, what if we donated our checks and we could help feed those less fortunate with not just a a simple meal, but a feast, right?
Right.
And I don't know what the percentage was, but the vast majority of our folks, both sworn and non-sworn, donated their turkey checks last year. And I don't know how many turkeys and with all the fixings they were able to buy, but a tremendous amount. And we're looking forward to doing that again this year. So, just another example of some great personnel that we have at the PD willing to help.
How thankful are you and your men and women on the streets for the community when these groups that feed the first responders and feed the police department? Because you see it happening all the time now.
It really is. It's amazing. I got a phone call. I won't say from who. Just about a week or two ago. Said, "Hey, we want to feed the cops again. We want to do this and that." And you know,
I'm gonna need a personal trainer from all this.
I want to say, hey, can we do maybe some vegetables and some keto friendly stuff? But no, there is not a week that goes by that somebody's not bringing something down there to feed cops and some of these
fire personnel and everything.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
and some of these events you're feeding a couple hundred people.
Yeah.
So it's not free, but yeah, so it's extremely appreciated, but beyond what you could imagine. And the hardest part is getting that message across to those that are doing that for us, right? I mean, we can say thank you, but it's I don't know. Greg used to say there's something about food that makes people happy.
Yes.
He was good about that when a hurricane came through.
And I'm happy constantly.
You and me both. But no, it means a great deal. Again, it goes back to that community sport. Yeah.
Got to talk about Saturday night or Sunday because seems to be a little confusion. I said I'd ask the chief of police. Wait. I'll ask you in a minute. Right now we have to take this call or I'll get in trouble.
Okay.
Good morning. You're on with Chief of Police Mike Balkin.
Hey, good morning, Tom, and good morning to the chief.
Good
I
morning.
just want to say that I agree with both of you guys and the community. There's a sense of harmony here in this community, of which both of you contributed to, and I believe that I have myself. I don't know what it is. Ocala does have something peaceful about it, and the city of Ocala law enforcement has a really, just from an outsider's view, a nice approach to the citizens, and I want to thank the chief for being a part of that. I would ask along those lines, Chief, and you were talking a moment ago about political things, and I think Tom was referring to more local politics, but we do respond to national trends, and I would ask the Chief, I'm not suggesting that I have any answers, but that he please consider that outside agitators in the event of another January 6th type insurrection where people feel empowered to harass a group of people, may be targeted, and would they please consider, if they don't already have contingency plans for protecting the community? I know they would be stretched thin immediately, but people have a perception of one group is a enemy, and then another group is not. Right now in America, are citizens. So I would ask that the chief please take that seriously. I did wear a gun and a badge in Miami at one time, and experienced the Miami city of Miami riots and things. So I do have some familiarization, but I just would ask that they, and I'm not asking for him to say publicly whether they do or not, but I know they would work well with the county, and I know the state would be involved. But I think it's a serious circumstance, and it wouldn't necessarily spring up from within. I'm not trying to be naive, but that we do protect these communities that would be more vulnerable, but not as vulnerable as people think that they are. So that's all I want to say. I would just ask something, Tom, to please keep that in mind.
Thanks for the call. We appreciate it.
Yeah, first off, sir, thank you for your service down south. We appreciate you. But yeah, we've gone through some pretty high level marches and protests over the past couple of years, and I can assure those out there that are listening that we have an extremely robust intelligence unit that works very well with our fusion center here in Florida at the state level, and we've got task force officers assigned to our federal partners, and we understand that. We understand the national trends. We look at those daily. We understand a lot of the things that happen around the country were absolutely bust-in agitators that were brought in for a specific reason, really to do nothing but divide communities, and so we're very in tune with that. I think we do have contingency plans in place. And my stance, and along with Chief Graham, the way he looked at it as well was, if you come in Ocala and want to do something like that in our city, we're going to bring down the full weight of the city, county, state, and federal resources to handle that.
Ask the scumbag that tried to mess with the Black Lives Matter as an agitator. I believe you took him. You were the one that put him on the ground.
I don't remember that, Tom. But
hey, real quick before we go, because we're up against a break. Saturday night, Sunday night, or both Halloween officially for you guys, and making sure people are paying attention out on the roadways and everything? It should probably be Saturday and Sunday night.
Yeah, well, for sure. Kids will be out, I guess, all weekend. I haven't heard any changes lined up other than Halloween's on the 31st. So, but yeah, kids are always out there running around doing their thing. So yeah, drive slow. The neighborhoods are going to be crowded this weekend, and people are going to be out doing their thing. So yeah, look out. That's number one, kids in our community. That's my number one priority. So yeah, keep your eyes open, slow down a little bit, and take your time.
Chief Mike Balkin from the Ocala Police Department. Let's make this a regular thing. What do you think?
Yes, sir. I'll see you in a couple weeks.
See you in a couple weeks.
Thank you, Tom.
We'll be right back after this timeout.
Eastern African country. The arrests come a day after the Biden administration met with the head of the military faction of the Sudanese government and warned him against staging a coup. A La Nina weather pattern in the Pacific is bringing rain and several feet of snow to California. The National Weather Service in Sacramento issued numerous warnings on Sunday concerning the rainfall, flooding, and debris